Hello, just making another small video this time. It's about aspires. This is the Aspire BVC. The Aspire BDC. They're pretty much exactly the same unit. Obviously, the difference is with the coil. BVC stands for bottom vertical coil. BDC stands for bottom dual coil, which is this guy here. Now, the BVC is new to the range that Aspire have brought out. The BDC was the original one, which is a bottom dual coil, came in I think a 2.0, 1.8, 1.6 ohm resistance. If you have bought it for the first time, the reason, and probably the reason I've made this video, is if you're using egos a lot of people generally just fill the liquid, let it settle for a few minutes, and you're pretty much good to go with these coils. When you replace the coil, as I was showing you, essentially screw it out there. When you replace this will come in a little package. Usually you buy a little pack like this, be a pack of 5, and you will get 5 coils in the pack, like so. What I have found with the Aspire coils is that they're excellent longevity with them compared to using a coil in an ego or even an Innikin dual coil, or even your standard ego that I would be heavy vapor, and the actual length of time you'll get out of these coils is quite incredible actually. The one thing is though that you need to prime the coil, and it's something you mightn't be used to if you've been using like an ego as much. But when I mean prime the coil, when you are going to fill the liquid, we'll start actually just fit this back in here. This is your tank. It's a bottom fill tank. You can't probably see it there now, but there's the air chamber there is in the center. You need to obviously avoid filling it down that, so you're filling it down the edge of just down the edge of the tank. When you fill that, generally I fill just up to almost up to the top of the glass here. When you have it fully filled, you need to screw this obviously back on. Don't over tighten it, just nice finger tighten. You need to actually use this when you have it filled. Let it settle. I let it settle for a few minutes, which I always do with any new coil. But what you absolutely need to do is you need to prime it. And when I mean prime it, you just take the unit when it's filled, and you're pulling the liquid in up through the coil. Just do that a few times. Again, let it settle a little bit more. But once you've done that, that gets the liquid up through the coil. Sometimes if you fill it and you don't actually prime it like that, you have a high risk of actually burning out the coil. And once you get a burnt taste on the coil, you may chuck it out because you won't get rid of the burnt taste, and essentially ruin the coil. So it's very important that you do prime the coils. The other thing about an Aspire, which is quite important, I find that you need to keep them pretty full. When you have it upright like this, when the liquid starts to show down midway or towards the bottom of this glass, it's actually quite empty at that stage. And I always, once you get to halfway down the glass, fill it up. There's quite a big tank in these, but I find particularly with the BVC coil, that they tend to gurgle a lot. The BDC coil, I haven't had as much problems with it. I found the BVC coil more troublesome with actually with leaking and with gurgling. It's not a big issue, can be a bit finicky, but the performance of the coil to me is actually worth having to deal with the small issues with the gurgling. Essentially, if you do get that issue with it, it's essentially a case of taking it off, getting your coil, taking it out, getting a piece of tissue, drying off the coil, cleaning off the top of the coil, just cleaning the whole coil around like that, and hold it. That's the top of the coil there. Hold a piece of tissue in your hand, push the coil into the tissue like that, blowing through it like that. That essentially just blows out any of the liquid through the coil, and put it back in, and you're good to go again. As I said, generally I found that could happen maybe once, twice a day. Again, it is a bit finicky, a bit of a nuisance, but the performance of the coil over an Ego, or really over the Pro Tank, is, for me personally, I find it worth the hassle of having to do it. If you have any more questions, you can leave a comment on the end of the video. Thanks very much.